You know what was the most horrible feeling of being in bed? Uh, for starters, the doctor, I believe, is one of those, you know, one of those angels that turned up in my life. Because I believe I constantly, if you see, even though I have not written an acknowledgement page in my book, I've constantly shown gratitude to people that have come all the way in my life. Because if every one of those blocks don't happen at the right time, you don't make it anywhere in your life. Uh, when I was about to take the surgery, and then he said, "You don't have to," it was a huge sigh of relief for the family. And we remember, I mean, we literally celebrated. He said, 6 weeks on, you're going to go on traction. My father was like, huge relief. We literally celebrated. We, got sweets and distributed to the people. My aunt, we distributed sweets and all. And I went home. But the most, I never knew I was getting into, I never knew what I was getting into. It was excruciatingly painful 6 weeks because for me, it was not about pooping or, pissing or somebody. I used to be all alone in the house because both my parents were working. If I heard a bell, I used to be scared. I was all of 13. I used to be scared if somebody was breaking into the house, who the person was, etc., etc. But what was most painful was at 4 p.m. in the evening, I used to hear children play. All my friends used to be on the road. They used to shout 4, 6. And I remember vividly one of those 5th weeks or something, I was hanging around with the legs. And then I just started to turn around to just peep out of the window to see who those kids were playing and all that. And which is when I caught a glimpse of myself on the mirror for the first time because I was eating. And the only way I was combating my stress levels without my own knowledge, 13-year-old child, I had no idea. I used to just jump. That was my only way of coping with what I was going through. And I saw myself in the mirror and I was shocked. My face had swollen up this big. I had put on so much weight and nobody even spoke about it. And after the 6th week mark, when I wore my school uniform, if I think it might have been mentioned or not, I didn't fit into it. My buttons weren't going. And I was like, oh my God, man, what the hell? What have I just done to myself? I turned up in school class, and as I entered the class, right, I would just ask permission with the teacher, please, may I come in? And she was like, every one of my classmates just looked at me and said, and it was like a huge shock for me. See, I think firstly, it is not, cricket is not something that I chose as a profession because I wanted to be popular or because I wanted to be on TV or because I wanted to earn money. The reason I started playing the game was pure joy and love, and not once through my life of playing the game, right? Not once. Even through all the struggles of, there are a lot of stories we had to cut out of it, Boria, to be fair, because we had to clip some of it because we had to get some finite distance in the book. Because we were told that you needed to get somewhere because I would have probably finished it earlier than what I had finished. My whole interest in writing novels is because I'm an avid book reader, especially novels. For me, bringing out how much I love the game, because all through the struggles of my parents to buy, the cost of a bat used to be 6,000 rupees. And the entire salary that my household used to get was about 2,000 rupees. So 2,000, 3,000 rupees. To buy those English Willow bats was a huge struggle. But through the thick and thin of it, never once did my parents ever tell me that it is an investment that we have to go and earn back. I don't know what it meant to them. It was just the pure love. Even now, right, when I go back home to my mother or father, I just feel home. There are several times I go ahead and think, what will I do if they're not there? Because, they've been there all through my life as a pillar of support and as a pillar of, and how do I say that? There is no expectancy for that love that they give. And even now when I'm home, I'm currently practicing to play for the TNPL. When I go home, my dad will give me the, 100 grams of my favorite milk sweet that I used to eat when I was 12, 13 years old. And I don't know how I would repay that back because we all miss our parents once they're not there anymore. But for me, even writing this novel is a way of, keeping them with me over a period of time. Look, I think I'm very thankful to the neighborhood I grew up in, Boria, because, there were these neighborhood uncles who used to feel, they were very close. You know how the 90s households would look like, the neighborhoods, right? And you live in Calcutta and the neighborhoods are really tight and thick. And the locality I live in is pretty much similar. People are very tightly knit. My father and the uncles next door, they used to, we used to invite them for chai and we used to watch cricket together. That's the sort of neighborhood I grew up in. But the one thing that I would really thank my elder friends that I played with was for the sheer competitive edge they gave me all through my life. I was the youngest in that group. I used to play alongside them. They gave me the opportunity to do that. And because of that, I never feared anything. And I think I started to believe that I could conquer anything and everything. Even though I was, like you said, not the most gifted, I had my own challenges. I used to feel that anything could be overcome. Maybe not necessarily, toe to toe. I could never be a Usain Bolt. But very early on in life, I realized that my limitations had to be conquered through other strengths that I could bring to the table. And I used to constantly think, okay, this is my weakness. How do I combat it? So the overall dismissal at the non-striker's end stemmed from that, because I used to be a slow runner between the wickets and I used to cop a lot for that. I used to take extra, distance as soon as the bowler delivered the ball. I used to start running. And if I wanted to get a couple of twos, I used to step out on purpose early on to try and counter the ball on either side of the pitch to get a couple of twos. Just started thinking like that. And then I realized, okay, maybe this is an edge. I should probably run the batsman out at the non-strikers. And so I started thinking about how to combat all this because of the limitations I had. Look, I think we all are born with some strengths and born with limitations. But I think if you can use your strengths to cover up your limitations, you will probably even things out. See, this is why I keep saying the same thing. I think I've said this before also. I may not be good enough. You may not like me for who I am. My direct straightforwardness might not cut ice with a lot of people. My questioning, you may not like. My arguments, you may not like. But if you ever said that I would shirk away from a fight, that would be very disappointing for me. That's what I've always told in my life. Every one of my steps and every one of those stages have only been fights. Not necessarily with people, with my own self, with my own limitations, with people that have come in the way, with organizations that may have come in the way, with powers that hold me that have come in the way. All these things, very small, minor battles that I never come out and express because I take pride in it. Everybody has to go through challenges, and I am going through one. So I think I don't look at these as challenges. I find ways to combat them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And what happened in Australia was just that. I tried to find a way to combat it. Try and stay on the back foot, block a ball, try and get through the first 15, 20 balls. I tried to combat, and one of those days it worked. There have been several other days where my failures have been within me. I have tried to combat it, but I failed. So that's just who I am, and I'm very organic to myself. But one thing, I will fight. Even if you put me in front of the most strongest person, and I have to live. It has to be a fight within a cage, and I have to live. It won't matter to me. I will take the fight on.